Now is the next is we have studied about the jump statement. That is the the return statement, break statement, and the continuous statement. Now we'll come to the Java access specifiers. Java access specifiers, that is we are going to come under the introduction of the classes. As we already studied that the class is at the core of the Java, because Java is a pure object oriented program, right? It supports all the objects and classes, right? And this access specifier also comes under the class itself. It is a logical construct upon which the entire Java language is built because it defines the shape and nature of the object. The class forms a basis for object-oriented programming in Java. Any concept you wish to implement in Java program must be encapsulated within a class, because the class is so fundamental to Java, and this class is a basic element of the class can be used to create objects, right? And classes have been used since beginning of the Java programming. So only the most rudimentary form of the class has been used. The classes created in the preceding is that is some encapsulation main method, which has been used to demonstrate the basic of the Java syntax. Perhaps the most important thing to understand about a class is that it defines a new data type. Once it is defined, this new type can be used to create objects of that type. A class is a template for an object, and an object is an instance of a class, because an object is an instance of the class. Okay, two words object and instance are used interchangeably for the objects. The general form of the class, why I am going to tell the general form of the class is because your class only contains the access specifiers. There are three different sections present in a class, right? Those three different sections are, one is the private section of the class, second one is a public section, third is a protected section of the data, right? So when you define a class, you declare an exact form of under nature. So specifying the data that it contains and code that operates on that data. While very simple classes may contain only code or only data, most real world class contain both, right? A class is declared by use a class keyword. The classes that have been used up to this point are actually very limited. The classes can go much more complex. A general simplified class definition is a class name, and type of instance variable 1, and type instance variable 2, so on. So a simple class can be the with the data and the variables defined within a class are called as instance variables. The code is contained within a methods. Collectively, the methods and the variables defined within a class are called members of the class. In most of the classes, instance variables are acted upon and accessed by the methods defined for that class. As a general rule, it is a method that determines how a class data can be used. Variables defined within a class are called instance class, because of each instance of the class contains its own copy of these variables. Thus, the data for one object is separate and unique from the data for another. We'll come back to this point shortly, but important concept we need to learn is about the access specifiers which are present in the class, right? So that is the access specifiers are nothing but a public, protected, and the private section of the classes. Okay. So these access specifiers allows the user to accessibility, in what way the data or the methods are going to be accessible. Okay. So private means that is accessible only to the inside the class, right? So they are not accessible outside the class. Only member of that class can access that data, whether it is a member function, that is a method, or it is a data member, it is a variable, right? So we need to use only the member access variables. Their accessible methods, variables, and constructors are declared private, can only be accessed within the class itself. That means only the members of that same class can have the accessing rights, accessibility to the private section of the class. That is called as a private access modifier. Then come to the using the private access modifier is the most restrictive access level. Class and interfaces cannot be private. Okay. Using the private modifier is the main way that object encapsulation and the data hiding property is possible. When you are going to define some of the data as the private section, right? So you, that means you are giving the providing the security for that data by declaring those methods and the members or the variables declared under the private section of the class. Using private modifier is the main way that is going to give the security for the data. Data hiding is possible only when you are going to declare the when you are going to use a private keyword. Okay. So public access specifier, so as I told, this gives more importance for the data security, more importance for the data. The object oriented programming will not allow the data to be in and around of any system. It is restricted, it is protected. Okay, that is a very important property that we can see in the object oriented programming concept, right? So public access modifier, the name itself says it is a public, a class, method, constructor, interface, etc. declared public can be accessed from any other class. Even the destructors also can be declared. Here in Java, destructors will not come in a picture. Okay, only in C++ we can use a destructor. Instead of destructor, we have garbage collection GB in the Java, right? So those can be declared under the public section of the class. Therefore, fields, methods, blocks declared inside the public class can be accessed from any class belonging to the Java universe. However, if a public class we are trying to access is a different package, then the public class still need to be imported. Because of the class inheritance, all public methods and variables of class inherited by its subclass, right? The public data can be accessible even the class and the outside the class also, means the non-member methods or the member methods also can access the data of the public section. So it can be accessible even outside the class also. Non-member function can also access these data. Okay, that is the advantage of public. And once if you are going to declare it as a public, there will be no security for the data because anyone can use that data. Okay, outside the class as well as the inside the class also. Then another, it is something like it is open to all. So private is fully restricted. The another kind of access specifier is a protected access specifier. Variables, methods, and constructor which are declared protected in a superclass can be accessed only by the subclasses in other package or any class within the package of the protected members of the class. The protected access modifier cannot be applied to class and interfaces. Methods, fields can be declared protected. However, methods and fields in an interface cannot be declared as a protected. So the protected access modifier cannot be applied to the class and interfaces, right? So it is somehow we cannot tell it is fully restricted and we cannot say it is fully open to all the member methods and the non-member methods, right? It is somewhat restricted to some level, that is immediate. Normally the protected section of the data is declared only in the with respect to the inheritance problems, right? When you are going to use the inheritance problems, then only we are going to use the protected data, right? This protected data can be applied to a class and the interfaces, methods, fields can be declared protected. However, methods and fields in the interface cannot be declared as a protected. Only superclass can access only by the subclasses in other packages or any class within the package of the protected members of the class. Okay. So protected data. So modifier is available. This access control modifier is available to any other class in the same package. The fields in an interface are implicitly public static final and the methods in an interface are by default it is a public. Suppose if you don't specify the any access specifier in the class, right, you that is going to be by default it is going to be the public itself. So now come to the very important concept of this Java is why Java has been implemented, what are its advantages, what are its features, what are its characteristics. We have studied all things in related to Java, history of the Java, how it has been evaluated, and who has evaluated this Java programming, right? So Java is a programmer's language we call, okay, because Java is cohesive and logically consistent. Third is, except for those constraints imposed by the internet environment, Java gives you the programmer full control. If you program well, your programs reflect it. If you program poorly, your programs reflect that too. But put differently, Java is not a language with training wheels. Okay, it is a language for professional programmers. Because of the similarities between Java and C++, it is tempting to think of Java as simply the internet version of a C++, because your Java program is going to be used significantly for practical and philosophical differences. Java is influenced by C++ and C++, but it is not an enhanced version of a C++. Java is neither upwardly nor downwardly compatible with the C++ because it is having most of the similarities. Now we'll study what are the advantages of this Java. So it is an open source, so users do not have to struggle with the heavy license fees each year. It is the Java compiler. You can download it in from the internet. It is not it is a open source. It is open to all the users. You need not to pay the money for the Java compiler, or you need not to pay the money for getting the license for the Java software. It is a free of cost. Okay, so license fees each year, you did not struggle to fee heavy license fees on each year. Okay, it is available on the internet. Whenever you want to download it, you can download it and you can work on it. Second is, Java is platform independent. So whichever the language you take, right, once it is written, that program can be run under any platform of the OS. Platform independent means that is your operating system. You may be using the Linux operating system, Unix operating system, Windows operating system, or Mac operating system, right? So once the Java program is written, that can run on all the platform, all the operating system, right? So such a program is the Java is, right? Once written and executed on all the platforms. Only once you are going to write a program and you are executing in all the platform. So that's why Java we call it as a platform independent language. Okay. Java APIs can be easily accessed by the developers. Okay. Application program package interfaces of Java or can be accessed by all the developer of the Java program, right? They're easily accessible. You don't need to pay something, or you don't need to go with a authorization and all. You can usually access it by the developers. Java performs supports garbage collection, so memory management is automatic. As I told, Java will not support destructors like a C++ language. It supports a garbage collection, so where it is automatic, you need not to specify that. Okay. Once a Java program execution is over, that whole memory space is going to be released back to your operating system automatically. Then you no need to worry about the wastage of the memory space when once you are going to write a program in Java, because there is one property called as a garbage collection where it is going to release back to the memory space or occupied by that particular Java variables, right, to your operating system, so that that memory can be used for future use. Java always allocates objects on the stack. It always allocates the objects on the stack. Stack is what last in first out. Whichever one is going to last in, that is the one which is going to come out first. Okay. It allocates objects on the stack. Java embraced the concept of exception specification. There are some kinds of errors which cannot be handled easily. Maybe software errors or the hardware errors. But Java is a software, that is a programming language, right? Since we are not concentrating much on the hardware exceptions like related to your hardware device, keyboard, mouse, monitor, and other input and out peripheral devices. Okay. So we are going to give the exception only for the software, that is the programs. Suppose you have any unsolvable problems arises, right? So your program should not get stuck, or it should not say print a blank screen. Instead of that, it has to give some message, from some proper message that okay, this particular statement or instruction cannot be handled easily. So for that we are going to use the exception handling mechanism, where it is going to handle all such kind of errors like divide by 0, array bound exceeds, etc. Okay. We are not defined the divide by 0, and it is the array is a fixed size. When it crosses its fixed size, then it is going to store some garbage value that we don't want, right? So we can say that that is a the that we can say that it is a garbage collection. It releases back to the operating system the memory space. Java allocates that is the exception handling mechanism, software exception handling mechanism, and it is a multi-platform support language and supports for a web services. As I told that Java is not a enhanced of C++. We can say Java is the internet version of a C++, because it allows the user to define some of the programming concepts mainly for the internet itself, right? So the applets, for example, it is a tiny program written for the internet purpose. Once you download, it can be run on any machine. Okay. So this it is a multi-platform, and it can be used to support for the the web services. Using Java, we can develop dynamic web applications. Using Java program, we can execute the you can develop the dynamic web application. It allows you to create modular programs and reusable code. It allows the modular program and the reusable code. Okay, so reusable means that is it supports, since it is object oriented program, it supports the inheritance problem, that is the reusability. So it allows the user to write his own program. Okay, that is all about the advantages of the Java programming language. Main is it is portable, data security, multi-platform, right? And dynamic web applications we can develop, and it allows the reusable code to execute the program. It is a open source. You need not to worry about that much about the fees of the payment, and it is all the APIs which are present in this Java are easily accessible for the developers.